The wind howled like a wolf, rattling the windows of Alex's house. Rain lashed against the glass, blurring the world outside into streaks of gray. Alex sighed, tossing a crumpled piece of paper into the trash. He'd been trying to draw, but the storm made it hard to concentrate. Boredom gnawed at him. He wished something, anything, would happen. Suddenly, a figure appeared on the porch, flickering in the dim light. Alex squinted. It was Sarah. But she was drenched, her dark hoodie clinging to her like a second skin. Water streamed from her hair. He rushed to the door, surprised. "My parents aren't home," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Can I crash here?" Alex hesitated. He and Sarah were friends, but he'd never had her over when he was home alone. It felt different. Before he could answer, Sarah stepped inside, shaking her head like a wet dog. "I turned 18 today, by the way," she added, almost as an afterthought. The door clicked shut behind her, sealing them inside with the storm. Silence filled the room, thick and heavy. The silence stretched, punctuated only by the drumming of rain against the roof. Alex's mind raced. 18. That felt grown up. He hadn't thought of Sarah that way before. He fumbled for something to say, anything to break the tension. Wow, happy birthday," he managed, feeling his cheeks flush. I didn't know." Sarah shrugged, a small smile playing on her lips. "It's not a very festive one," she said, glancing out the window at the storm. "Kind of a soggy start." He noticed she was shivering. "Here," Alex said, suddenly remembering his manners. "Let me get you a towel. And maybe you can change into something dry. I think I have a sweatshirt that might fit." He gestured towards the hallway, leading to the bedrooms. "My mom won't mind." He hoped she wouldn't, anyway. This was all happening so fast. Sarah followed him down the hall, her bare feet padding softly on the wooden floor. He grabbed a fluffy blue towel from the linen closet and rummaged through his closet, finally pulling out an old gray sweatshirt that was a little too big for him. "Here you go," he said, handing them to her. "The bathroom's right there." She took the towel and sweatshirt with a grateful smile. "Thanks, Alex. You're a lifesaver." As she disappeared into the bathroom, Alex leaned against the wall, trying to calm his racing heart. He couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just a normal sleepover. Something was different. Maybe it was the storm, maybe it was the birthday, or maybe it was just Sarah herself. He remembered how her dark hair had framed her face, even when plastered with rain. He shook his head, trying to focus. He needed to be a good host, that's all. He wandered back to the living room, pushing aside the crumpled drawing and straightening the cushions on the couch. What did you even do when a girl you liked, who was now suddenly 18, was changing in your bathroom during a thunderstorm? He glanced at the TV, but couldn't focus. After what felt like forever, Sarah emerged, wearing his oversized sweatshirt and looking much more comfortable. Her wet hair was wrapped in the blue towel. "Thanks again," she said, sinking onto the couch. "This is way better than being stuck on the porch." "No problem," Alex replied, trying to sound casual. "So, your parents are out of town?" He already knew the answer, but he felt like he needed to say something. "Yeah," Sarah confirmed. "They went to visit my grandma. They won't be back until tomorrow afternoon. I was supposed to stay with my aunt, but, well, you saw what happened." She gestured to her still damp jeans. "The storm caught me by surprise." The thought of Sarah being alone all night because of the storm made Alex's initial hesitation fade. He couldn't just leave her to fend for herself. "Well, you're welcome to stay here, of course," he said, a little more confidently this time. "We can order pizza, watch a movie, whatever you want." He remembered all the times Sarah had been there for him. Like in 6th grade when he'd broken his arm and she'd carried his books for a month. Or last year when he'd bombed his history test and she'd helped him study for the retake. She was a good friend. Sarah smiled, a genuine, warm smile that reached her eyes. "Pizza sounds amazing," she said. And maybe we can find that old board game your mom always makes us play at Christmas. The one with the tiny plastic animals? Alex chuckled. Monopoly? You're on. But be warned, I'm ruthless when it comes to real estate. He stood up, feeling a little more relaxed. Pizza it is. What kind do you want? As Alex dialed the pizza place, Sarah stretched out on the couch, looking more relaxed than he'd seen her all evening. The storm still raged outside, but inside, the atmosphere was shifting. The initial awkwardness was fading, replaced by a comfortable familiarity. Pepperoni and mushrooms okay? Alex asked, holding the phone to his ear. Perfect, Sarah replied. Extra cheese, if they'll let you. He placed the order, then rummaged through the hall closet, finally unearthing the dusty Monopoly box. The board was slightly warped, and some of the plastic hotels were missing, but it was still playable. He set it up on the coffee table, a wave of nostalgia washing over him. He hadn't played this game in ages. Ready to lose? He teased, grinning at Sarah. In your dreams, Anderson, she retorted, a playful glint in her eyes. I'm going to bankrupt you before you even buy Boardwalk. The storm outside seemed a little less menacing now, drowned out by the promise of pizza and a friendly rivalry. The pizza arrived, its cheesy aroma filling the room. They devoured it quickly, laughing and teasing each other about their messy eating habits. As they ate, Alex couldn't help but glance at Sarah every now and then. She looked different, more mature, than he remembered. The oversized sweatshirt only emphasized her small frame, making her seem both vulnerable and somehow captivating. So, he said, after swallowing a bite of pizza. 18, huh? Big plans for the future? Sarah shrugged, wiping her mouth with a napkin. Not really. I mean, college, eventually. But right now, I'm just trying to figure things out. She paused, looking thoughtful. It doesn't really feel like a big deal, to be honest. Just another day, but with more rain. Alex nodded, understanding. Growing up didn't happen overnight. It was a series of small steps, each one leading to something new and unknown. And tonight, he was taking one of those steps right alongside Sarah. He grabbed the dice, shaking them in his hand. All right, birthday girl, he said. Let's see if Lady Luck is on your side. The game commenced with fierce competition. Sarah, true to her word, snapped up Boardwalk early, while Alex focused on railroads. They traded properties, argued over rent, and occasionally cheated, mostly Sarah. The storm raged on outside, a constant reminder of the unusual circumstances that had brought them together. As the game progressed, the conversation drifted from Monopoly strategies to more personal topics. They talked about their friends, their favorite teachers, and their dreams for the future. Alex learned that Sarah wanted to travel the world, maybe become a photographer. Sarah discovered that Alex secretly loved to write stories, even though he never showed them to anyone. With each roll of the dice, a little more of their past was revealed, and a glimpse of their future emerged. The comfortable silence between them was now filled with laughter and shared secrets, building a connection stronger than the storm raging outside. The pizza box was empty, the Monopoly money scattered, but the night was far from over. Suddenly, the lights flickered and went out, plunging the room into darkness. Sarah gasped, a hint of fear in her voice. The storm had finally knocked out the power. Don't worry, Alex said, trying to sound brave. I think we have some candles somewhere. He fumbled around in the dark, bumping into furniture until he located a drawer in the kitchen. Inside, he found a box of old birthday candles and a lighter. He lit a few candles, placing them strategically around the room. The flickering light cast long, dancing shadows on the walls, creating an eerie but cozy atmosphere. The sound of the rain seemed louder now, more intense. Spooky, Sarah whispered, pulling the sweatshirt tighter around her. Yeah, Alex agreed, sitting back down on the couch. But kind of cool, too. Like we're in a movie. He paused. So, scared of the dark? He instantly regretted saying it. It sounded lame. Sarah laughed softly. Only when there are monsters under the bed, she said. Are there monsters under your bed, Anderson? Nah, Alex said, grinning. Just checking if you're brave enough to hear a scary story. Oh, I'm always brave enough for a scary story, Sarah replied, leaning forward, her eyes sparkling in the candlelight. Try me. Alex thought for a moment, trying to remember a good one. Then, he remembered something even better. Okay, I'll tell you a story, he said. But it's not scary. It's about us. Sarah raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Oh? Yeah, Alex said, a smile spreading across his face. Remember in 3rd grade, when those older kids were picking on me at recess? You came over and yelled at them until they ran away. He paused, remembering the feeling of gratitude he'd felt at that moment. You were like, my own personal superhero. He'd never told her that before. Sarah blushed slightly. They were being mean, she said, shrugging it off. Someone had to do something. But Alex could see she was pleased he remembered. Okay, my turn, Sarah said, a mischievous grin spreading across her face. Remember that time we tried to build a treehouse in your backyard, and it collapsed as soon as you climbed into it? Alex groaned. Don't remind me. I had splinters for weeks. But it was hilarious. Sarah protested, dissolving into laughter. You looked like a squirrel that had just fallen out of a tree. They spent the next hour reminiscing about their childhood adventures, the time they accidentally set off the school fire alarm, the disastrous attempt to bake a cake for Alex's mom's birthday, the summer they tried to start a lemonade stand and only made 50 cents. Each memory brought them closer, reinforcing the bond that had formed over years of friendship. The candlelight flickered, illuminating their faces as they laughed, their voices blending with the sound of the rain, creating a soundtrack to their shared history. The storm outside was forgotten, replaced by the warmth of cherished memories. As the candles burned lower, casting a warm glow on their faces, the conversation shifted, growing more serious. The laughter subsided, replaced by a quieter, more reflective tone. So, Alex said, breaking the silence. What are you really afraid of? Sarah hesitated, staring into the flickering flame. Failing, she admitted softly. Letting everyone down. Not living up to their expectations. Alex nodded, understanding. He felt the same way sometimes. What about you? Sarah asked, turning her gaze to him. What keeps you up at night? He took a deep breath. Being ordinary, he confessed. Not making a difference. Just fading into the background. He'd never voiced these fears aloud before, but somehow, in the candlelight, with Sarah, it felt safe. The storm still raged outside, a wild and unpredictable force, but inside, they had created a safe haven, a space for vulnerability and honesty. He was surprised at how easy it was to open up to her. It felt right. Boom, a deafening clap of thunder shook the house, rattling the windows and momentarily silencing them. Sarah jumped, her eyes widening in surprise. The candles flickered violently, threatening to extinguish. Wow, Alex said, his voice slightly shaky. That was close. The sudden reminder of the storm snapped them back to reality. They were still trapped inside, alone together, with the elements raging outside. The intensity of the storm seemed to mirror the intensity of their conversation. The shared vulnerability had created a palpable tension in the air. Maybe we should try to find something else to do, Sarah suggested, her voice barely above a whisper. To distract ourselves. Alex nodded, agreeing. The weight of their confessions hung heavy in the air. He wasn't sure what to say or do next. The comfortable silence had been replaced by an awkward uncertainty. The storm outside was relentless, and so were the feelings churning inside him. He stood up, trying to shake off the tension. What do you suggest? He asked, forcing a smile. Charades? 20 questions? Sarah shook her head slowly. Actually, she said, her voice barely audible above the howling wind. There's something I need to tell you. Something I haven't told anyone. Alex's heart pounded in his chest. He could sense the weight of her words, the vulnerability in her eyes. He sat back down, leaning forward, giving her his full attention. "You can tell me anything, Sarah," he said softly. "You know that, right?" She took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly in her lap. "It's about my art," she began hesitantly. "I haven't been able to draw or paint anything in months. I feel blocked. Like something's holding me back." She looked up at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and frustration. "It's stupid, I know. But it's like, a part of me is missing." The candles flickered, casting dancing shadows on her face, highlighting the pain in her expression. Alex reached out and gently took her hand, offering silent support. He knew how much her art meant to her. This was a bigger deal than she was letting on. "It's not stupid, Sarah," Alex said, squeezing her hand gently. "It's important. It's who you are." He thought about his own writing, the stories he kept hidden away, the fear of sharing them with anyone. He understood her struggle more than she knew. "Maybe," he continued, "you just need a spark. Something to inspire you again." He thought for a moment. "Remember that old sketchbook you used to carry around everywhere? The one with the pressed flowers on the cover?" Sarah nodded, a faint smile gracing her lips. "Yeah. I haven't seen that in years." "Maybe it's time to find it," Alex suggested. "Maybe it holds the key to unlocking your creativity again." He watched her face, searching for a sign of hope. He wanted to help her, to ease her pain, to bring back the spark that had always made her so vibrant. As he listened to her, offering words of comfort and understanding, he felt a growing sense of connection, a bond that went beyond friendship. The storm outside still raged, but inside, something new was beginning to bloom. "Okay," Sarah said, finally breaking the silence. "Enough with the serious stuff. My birthday is depressing enough without adding artist's block to the mix." She forced a smile, but Alex could still see the sadness in her eyes. "Agreed," Alex said, relieved to change the subject. "Let's find that sketchbook tomorrow. For now, how about we play another game? Something mindless and fun?" Sarah considered for a moment. "How about Clue?" she suggested. "I haven't played that in forever." "Clue it is," Alex said, standing up. "But be warned, I'm a master detective. I always guess it's Colonel Mustard in the library with the candlestick." He headed towards the game closet, hoping to lighten the mood and distract them both from the weight of their earlier conversation. The candles flickered, casting long shadows on the walls, as they prepared for another round of friendly competition. Maybe, just maybe, a little bit of silliness was exactly what they needed. He found the Clue game, slightly newer than the Monopoly game, and brought it back to the coffee table. He started setting it up, carefully placing the little weapons in their spots. The game of Clue provided the perfect distraction. They argued playfully over who got to be Miss Scarlet, accused each other of cheating, and made ridiculous guesses about the murderer's identity. Alex kept forgetting which cards he'd already seen, and Sarah kept mixing up the different rooms. Their competitive sides emerged, but mostly they just ended up laughing at each other's silly mistakes. "Seriously, Sarah," Alex said, wiping tears of laughter from his eyes. "How many times are you going to guess it's Professor Plum in the conservatory with the wrench?" "Hey, you never know," Sarah protested, giggling. "Maybe he just really likes plants and fixing things." The tension from earlier had completely dissipated, replaced by a lightheartedness that filled the room. The storm still raged outside, but inside, they were safe and warm, surrounded by candlelight and laughter. For a little while, at least, everything felt normal again. He enjoyed hearing Sarah laugh, a genuine, bright sound that made him smile. It was moments like these that made him realize how much he valued her friendship. It was a feeling he couldn't quite name. Just as Alex was about to reveal his final guess, the candles flickered violently, sputtering and dimming before plunging the room into complete darkness. The power had finally given out completely. "Oh, come on!" Sarah exclaimed, her voice filled with mock frustration. We were so close to solving it. Alex chuckled, even though he couldn't see her face. Well, I guess the mystery will have to remain unsolved, for now. He paused, listening to the sound of the rain pounding against the roof. The darkness felt different this time, more intense, more intimate. He reached out carefully, his hand brushing against Sarah's. He hesitated for a moment, then gently took her hand in his. Her hand was warm and soft, and her touch sent a shiver down his spine. The only light came from the occasional flash of lightning outside, illuminating their faces for a fleeting moment. The sound of the storm filled the void, amplifying the silence between them. He squeezed her hand gently. Are you okay? He asked, his voice soft. It was more than just about the power outage. Yeah, Sarah replied softly, squeezing his hand back. Just a little jumpy. The lightning flashed again, illuminating her face for a split second. He could see the faintest hint of a smile on her lips. They sat in silence for a few moments, their hands clasped together, the only sound the relentless drumming of the rain. Alex's heart pounded in his chest. He wasn't sure what to do, what to say. He'd never felt this way about Sarah before. It was more than just friendship, more than just liking her. It was something deeper, something more profound. Maybe, he said, breaking the silence, we should try to find some more candles. Just in case. He didn't want to let go of her hand, but he knew they couldn't just sit there in the dark all night. He slowly released her hand and stood up, fumbling his way towards the kitchen. The darkness felt less scary now, knowing that Sarah was there with him. He bumped into a chair, cursed under his breath, and finally found the drawer with the candles. He grabbed a handful and made his way back to the living room, feeling his way along the wall. He placed the candles on the coffee table, then felt around for the lighter. He finally found the lighter and began lighting the candles, one by one, until the room was bathed in a warm, flickering glow. The shadows danced on the walls, creating an eerie but comforting atmosphere. Better? Alex asked, looking at Sarah. Much, she replied, a small smile playing on her lips. Thanks. They sat in silence for a moment, watching the candle flames flicker. The storm raged on outside, but inside, they had created their own little world, a haven of warmth and light in the midst of the darkness. So, Alex said, breaking the silence. Since we can't play Clue anymore, how about we tell each other scary stories? He remembered her earlier comment about being brave enough for a scary story. Sarah's eyes lit up. I'm in, she said, leaning forward eagerly. But I get to go first. She paused, thinking for a moment. Okay, she said, a mischievous glint in her eyes. This happened to my cousin's friend's sister. She began to weave a tale of haunted houses, creepy dolls, and things that go bump in the night. The candles flickered, casting long, dancing shadows on her face, adding to the suspense of her story. Alex listened intently, trying to suppress a shiver. Even though he didn't really believe in ghosts, Sarah's storytelling was surprisingly effective. When Sarah finished her story, Alex took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. Okay, he said, his voice slightly shaky. That was intense. It was his turn to tell a story, but he couldn't think of anything scary enough to top Sarah's. Instead, he decided to tell her a story about something that had actually happened to him. This isn't really a scary story, he said, but it's kind of creepy. He paused, gathering his thoughts. Remember my old dog, Buster? He died a few years ago. Sarah nodded, her expression softening. I loved Buster, she said. He was the best. Well, Alex continued, a few weeks after he died, I started hearing him scratching at my bedroom door at night. Just like he used to do when he wanted to come in. At first, I thought I was imagining it. But then, it kept happening, every night, at the same time. He paused, looking at Sarah. It freaked me out. He'd never told anyone that before. It felt silly, admitting to being scared of his dead dog. But somehow, telling Sarah felt different. It felt safe. He watched as she listened intently, her eyes reflecting the candlelight. It was in that moment that he understood how much he trusted her. "That's actually really sad," Sarah said softly, her voice filled with sympathy. "I bet Buster misses you too." Alex shrugged, trying to downplay his emotions. "Yeah, well, it was a long time ago." The candles were burning low now, casting a soft, golden light that barely illuminated the room. The shadows danced on the walls, making the space feel smaller, more intimate. Alex noticed that Sarah had moved closer to him on the couch. Their shoulders were almost touching. He could feel the warmth radiating from her body. He glanced at her, his heart pounding in his chest. Her eyes were wide and luminous in the candlelight. He could see the faintest hint of freckles on her nose. She looked beautiful. He swallowed hard, trying to find something to say, but his mind was blank. The silence stretched between them, thick and heavy. The storm still raged outside, but inside, the world seemed to shrink, focusing only on him and Sarah, sitting together in the flickering candlelight. He could feel the pull, the unspoken desire, the undeniable connection between them. He knew that something was about to change. He leaned closer, his gaze locking with hers. He could feel her breath on his cheek, warm and soft. He tilted his head slightly, his eyes searching hers, seeking permission. Sarah's eyes fluttered shut, her lips parting slightly. He knew, in that moment, that she felt it too. The undeniable pull, the unspoken desire. He leaned in further, his heart pounding in his chest, his lips just inches from hers. Asterisk ring. Ring, star. The sudden, jarring sound of the telephone pierced the silence, shattering the intimate moment. Alex jumped back, startled, his face flushed. Sarah's eyes flew open, her cheeks turning a delicate shade of pink. I should probably get that," Alex stammered, scrambling to his feet. He stumbled over to the phone, feeling awkward and flustered. He glanced at Sarah, who was staring at the floor, her expression unreadable. He picked up the phone, his voice trembling slightly. "Hello?" The moment was gone, lost in the sudden intrusion of the outside world. He felt a pang of disappointment, mixed with a strange sense of relief. "It's your mom," Alex said, hanging up the phone. "She wanted to make sure we were okay. She said the storm is finally starting to die down." Sarah looked up, her cheeks still flushed. He avoided her gaze, feeling awkward and unsure of what to say. He noticed that the sound of the rain had indeed lessened, replaced by a softer, gentler patter against the roof. The storm, both outside and inside, seemed to be subsiding. He cleared his throat. "So, what were we talking about?" He knew it was a stupid question, but he couldn't think of anything else to say. Sarah managed a weak smile. "I think," she said softly, "we were about to make a terrible mistake." Her words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. He knew she was right. They were friends, best friends. They couldn't risk ruining that, not for a fleeting moment of passion. But still, a part of him couldn't help but wonder what might have been. He glanced out the window, noticing the first glimmer of dawn breaking through the clouds. The storm was almost over. And so was their night together. Sarah's phone buzzed, breaking the awkward silence. She glanced at the screen, her expression shifting. "It's my parents," she said, her voice subdued. "They're on their way home." Alex nodded, a wave of mixed emotions washing over him. Relief, sadness, regret. "Oh," he said, trying to sound casual. "Well, that's good." Sarah stood up, gathering her things. She took off Alex's sweatshirt, folding it neatly and placing it on the couch. She grabbed the blue towel from the bathroom, her movements quick and efficient. He watched her, feeling a strange sense of detachment. It was like she was already gone, already moving on. "Thanks for everything, Alex," she said, turning to face him. "I really appreciate it." She paused, a faint smile playing on her lips. "It was an interesting birthday." "Yeah," Alex replied, forcing a smile. "Definitely one for the books." He hesitated, then added, maybe we can do it again sometime? Under less stormy circumstances? He immediately regretted saying it. It sounded lame and desperate. Sarah laughed softly. Maybe, she said, her eyes twinkling. We'll see. She grabbed her damp hoodie, heading towards the door. I should probably change out of these jeans before my parents get here. She opened the door, letting in a rush of fresh, clean air. The storm was finally over. The sun was beginning to peek through the clouds, painting the sky with hues of pink and orange. It was a new day. As Sarah stepped out onto the porch, she paused, turning back to face Alex. The sunlight streamed through the doorway, illuminating her face, highlighting her freckles and the warmth in her eyes. Hey, Alex, she said softly. About that sketchbook. Yeah, he replied, his heart skipping a beat. Maybe we could look for it together? She bit her lip, her eyes searching his. Tomorrow? A wave of hope washed over him, chasing away the lingering disappointment. I'd like that, he said, a genuine smile spreading across his face. I know just where to look. They stood there for a moment. Suspended in a moment of unspoken understanding. The air crackled with an unspoken energy, a silent acknowledgement of the connection they had forged during the long, stormy night. It was more than just friendship, more than just a shared experience. It was something new, something undefined, something that held the promise of something more. She turned to leave, stepping out into the sunlight. As she walked away, she glanced back one last time, her eyes meeting his. It was a lingering look, a meaningful look, a silent promise. He knew, in that moment, that their relationship had changed forever. The storm had passed, leaving behind a landscape transformed. The world looked different, brighter, more hopeful. Sarah turned and walked towards the road, her figure growing smaller as she disappeared from view. Alex stood there, watching her go, his heart filled with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. He knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new possibilities. And he couldn't wait to see what the future held. Alex closed the door, leaning against it, taking a deep breath. The house felt strangely empty without Sarah. He wandered back into the living room, surveying the scene. The Monopoly board was still set up on the coffee table, the scattered pieces a reminder of their playful rivalry. The empty pizza box sat on the floor, a testament to their shared hunger. The flickering candles cast long, dancing shadows on the walls, echoing the memories of their spooky stories and whispered secrets. He picked up Sarah's sweatshirt, inhaling its faint scent of rain and lavender. He hugged it to his chest, feeling a warmth spread through him. He realized that he saw Sarah in a new light. She wasn't just his friend, his childhood companion. She was something more, something special. He replayed the events of the evening in his mind, reliving every moment, every word, every touch. He had shared his deepest fears with her, and she had shared hers with him. They had laughed, they had cried, they had almost kissed. And in the process, they had forged a connection that would forever bind them together. He couldn't wait to see what tomorrow would bring. He knew it would be the start of something new. He walked over to the window, gazing out at the dawn-lit sky. The clouds were beginning to dissipate, revealing patches of blue. The world seemed fresh and clean, washed clean by the storm. He knew their relationship had changed. It was no longer just a simple friendship, a comfortable companionship. It was something more complex, something more exciting, something more real. He wondered what the future held for them. Would they become more than friends? Would they explore the undeniable connection that had sparked between them during the storm? Would they find a way to navigate the complexities of their changing feelings? He didn't know. But he was willing to find out. He knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new possibilities. And he couldn't wait to face them, together. He smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile that reached his eyes. The storm was over, the power was out, and the future was uncertain. But one thing was clear, their story was just beginning. He knew, with absolute certainty, that it all started with the storm, a soaked hoodie, and a birthday bombshell. He took one last look out the window. The sun broke through the last of the clouds.